So I want to start this week's video by saying a special thank you to a friend of mine who pointed out something very important in the very first panel that I missed on my initial read-through. One of the reasons that I hold off till Monday is because I like to read the chapter once when it gets scanned, like when it gets translated into English by just people on the internet, and a day to give myself a little time to compose, another day to not read spoilers online or anything, but talk to just anyone that'll listen to me and bounce my thoughts off of. Sometimes it's friends who read One Piece, sometimes it's just family members who are unfortunate enough to be within my range. Mostly my brother, who is very supportive in my love of One Piece, but has not read the manga. He watched, I think, up to episode 50, not the point. But, most importantly, I always wait until Sunday, because, much like this week's chapter, sometimes something important gets translated in a very certain way. Hello Internet, I am the Hero of Julios with One Piece chapter 1117. The artwork for this week's chapter continues Yamato's journey across Wano as she goes over to visit the Yakuza, and apparently Nekomamushi is a member of them now, which I don't know if he's going to be one of the heads of the Yakuza or if he's just a member. We know he's here with the rest of the scabbards to stay as a retainer for Momo, to help young Momonosuke, because to the rest of Wano, he's the brave, heroic son of Odin who returned. But to those closest to him, he's just a little kid. I feel bad for Momo in times like that. But I think he'll be fine. He'll just mature, and by the time he's 38 physically, he'll be 18 mentally. So Wano should be fine in about 10 years, as far as their leadership goes. But now, the very first chapter panel, which I thought nothing of it at first. We just cut to, Pirate Island, and a few pirates are talking amongst themselves, and one goes, the Pirate King knew about this? Does that mean the One Piece is at the bottom of the ocean? And another pirate's like, oh, we gotta get to the bottom of the ocean. Another one's like, are you crazy? A Sea King would just gobble us up. It's impossible to go under the ocean. And another pirate goes, well, but they have submarines, don't they? Like, they got ships that go underwater. And another one goes, you think you have the money for that much? Finally, most sensible pirate in this group just goes, oh, if we got underwater, I feel like I'd be more interested in talking to some mermaids than I would be seeing treasure. And they go, oh, yeah, that makes sense. And among these pirates we see in this single panel, we see this bearded looking guy, just, stereotypical pirate. And then we see this other dude kind of holding his sword or whatever, and finally we see this really weird looking dude. He's got this huge iron circle as like a shell protecting him, and he's got these big honking shields, these bracers on each arm, and then he wears on his head a giant pearl. And then there's two other pirates, and if I adjust my glasses for comedic effect and stare very closely, is that Don Krieg? Krieg and Geen and Pearl at the minimum did it. They made it to the, not just to the Grand Line like they promised Sanji. They made it to the new world. I mean, Pearl and Krieg probably aren't the nicest guys in the world, but Geen kept his promise. He will see Sanji again someday. Also, it's early One Piece. Characters don't really die a lot, so I guess we shouldn't be shocked that Geen's alive, but I'm shocked we see Geen so many years later. I mean, so many years later. I got a friend who's currently watching One Piece. He's up to Skypiea the last time I talked to him, but he's probably at Thriller Bark at this point. Regardless, he asked me one time about characters that have come and gone, and I told him, unless that character explicitly dies or gets sent to maximum security prison, actually even in Impel Down we see characters again, so I guess unless a character flat out dies and we don't see them again in a flashback, you have not seen the last of anyone in One Piece. We got Buggy making reappearances, Crocodile showing up arcs later, even Mihawk popping in now and then like Shanks to be like, this newspaper's about that kid I like. Good kid. Good kid. I forgot to hit record on my good microphone. That's embarrassing. Okay, well, audio should improve a tiny bit. That's what the backup microphones are for. But, anyways, back to what I was saying. The important thing to take note here is even Don Krieg comes back if you give them enough time to simmer. East Blue Alliance confirmed. Don Krieg, top general of Cross Guild, confirmed. Also, I really do like the nice chiseled look that he has. Definitely beats the rounded face that he once had back in the East Blue. But I have talked way too much about this panel. Or maybe I haven't talked enough. I'm extremely happy to see such old characters popping up again. Speaking of returning characters, we get another panel of another group elsewhere, the Monkey Mountain Alliance. We got Shoujo, Mashira, and Cricket. I was about to say Noland. Cricket. As they're talking, they're listening to this, and Cricket says, "Hey, that's kind of nice. There's some ancient civilization at the bottom of the ocean. Sounds pretty romantic, doesn't it, guys? Who's up for another deep sea dive?" As the monkeys cheer in the background behind him. That's great for them. And honestly, even if, the world does, hit that drain and we get the world to sink back to normal and we have these giant continents, we know that during the Void Century, Joy Boy was the first pirate. In order to be a pirate, there has to be bodies of water to navigate, which means don't worry about the Monkey Mountain Alliance. They will still have a job as deep sea divers when the world returns to its normal state. The best part about that is they will be experts at diving beneath the waves, something that could come in handy. Who knows? Maybe the Straw Hat crew will even run into them again before all this comes to a blow, because who knows where and when the final battle will take place. Continuing on our quest across the ocean, we actually see Captain Kobe. He is doing well. Hibari's kind of fussing over him as Kujaku and Gross are also in the room. They're in the infirmary together talking about everything that's going on. Kobe says, I got to write this stuff down. Helmeppo's, looking over him. And we actually find out that Drake is also fine. He is currently in a different room, probably because he's like the leader of Sword, or the de facto leader. So I guess he would have gotten out of Wano just fine since Green Bull was there. I don't know. I feel like thematically he and Hawkins looked like they were both going to die, so maybe it was just Hawkins. Yeah, so Sword's doing all right. We actually cut to Smoker because remember, he wasn't a part of Garp's raid. He's off doing his own thing. He's got his billow bike. It's going across the ocean because it's got those paddles on it. And he calls Tashigi to check in with her. Tashigi is also at the medical base with Kobe and the others. So maybe Smoker's going to reconvene with her, get on a ship, and head towards Egghead, because Smoker is the Garp to Luffy's Roger. That he is the, I will follow you to the ends of the earth, Straw Hat. I'm going to catch you. I'm going to, find the truth of the world and follow my own sense of justice. And as the broadcast kind of takes a break from the main plot, we cut to other things going on. Vegapunk says that he has one last theory. And I said to myself as I read that panel, oh boy, Vegapunk's got one last thing to say, does he? I sure hope that somebody doesn't cut the feed conveniently during this moment. Right? But as he's talking, we see that the Sunny is officially ready to go. They have just enough island cloud to jump off. Usopp confirms this. So even though Edison, did his best and it looked like it was in vain because of Venus cutting the cloud, there is enough cloud for them to successfully jump off. Unfortunately, there are two problems here. Problem number one, down below, bunch of marine battleships. Yes, that's a problem, but we got Jinbei and Zoro. I'm sure they can get rid of a couple battleships in order for the ship to make it land safely. Unfortunately, Zoro and Jinbei are still running towards the ship, and now something bigger than them is running past them. It's Venus. He's got his sword, and he's in his centaur form, and he's charging towards the ship, ready to just slice it asunder. Fortunately, we get a lovely combo from Jinbei and Zoro. Jinbei holds out his hand, Zoro hops on it, and they just pull a fastball special as he launches Zoro towards Venus. Venus, obviously sensing something dangerous flying at him at 100 miles per hour, turns his sword around and clashes it with Zoro. And boy howdy, I could hear the entire One Piece community sigh in a victorious confirmation, a vindication, if you will, of a long-standing theory. Because as they're both clashing, their swords hitting in the middle, both Venus and Zoro just go, "Is that a Kitetsu sword?" And then they both clash, they both bounce off of each other. So, confirmed. We know Kitetsu the Third is in the hands of Zoro. Kitetsu the Second, currently at Wano. And Kitetsu the First, who everybody thought Venus had, has. It is in the hands of Venus. Which means it's gonna go into the hands of Zoro after he defeats him? I don't think so. Personally, I think Zoro's gonna stick with the third sword, because if Zoro was going to upgrade the Kitetsu blade, wouldn't he have done it in Wano? Wouldn't he have at least asked for it? The only time Zoro really asked for the Kitetsu blade was to see it from Luffy. And granted, in typical Luffy fashion, he didn't get to see it, but that's okay. The thing is, I think it's more thematic that Zoro defeats the first of its kind, the most powerful of the Kitetsu blades, with his own sword. If Zoro even clashes with Venus. I mean, we saw Sanji kick Venus. We've seen Luffy punch a couple Gorosei. It's not really confirmed who fights who yet. I don't think this is the final battle. This is just getting away from these guys. This is Rob Lucci and Kaku at Water 7 of, oh my gosh, these guys are so strong, but we as two villain and hero parties have to go our separate ways because reasons, and we will meet again later for a clash. This is a showcase. They're just trading warning blows now. But as Venus is knocked away and Zoro looks at the crew, he tells them to just get going. Me and Jinbei will just jump on after, which is fine. So that's what's going on with the boat right now. Meanwhile, Sanji's group is currently defending themselves. Let me just check my notes here. Yes. So Luffy is almost there. Sanji and all the giants are together with Bonnie, and Sanji looks out into the fire and he just kind of goes, oh, I wish there was a way to communicate with Luffy. And he's like, Luffy, do you hear me? Come in. Because, radio signals are jammed right now. And Sanji's like, dang it, there's no way to hear him right now. Coming out from within the fire, you just hear Luffy's voice. I'm okay! Get on the boat! And Sanji's just like, you're just going to give away your position like that, huh? Okay. Okay, everyone, on the boat. Luffy said it'll be fine. So as they're getting on the boat, Dory and Broggy, they tell Oimo and Kashi to just defend the ship, get the motor running, metaphorically, get the sails set, and we'll hop on and we'll all get out of here. And they're like, okay. So the giants jump out of the ship into the ocean. They are taking out Navy battleships one after another. I really like the one that he kind of swam in and came back up. And he just kind of grabs a Marine by the scruff as he's whacking away another. It looks like a little kid playing with bath toys. And as they're doing this, Bluegrass and Doll finally show up. And Bluegrass takes one of the robo-giraffe that she's been piloting and has it blast at the ship. And she's like, you kids are wearing the symbol of justice on your jackets. How can you let these guys play with you like this? And Doll... Granted, vice admirals are very powerful. You should never underestimate any of them. I didn't realize she was like Garp fighting style, though. She punches a hole in the ship. And one of the giants even comments on it. He's like, oh my gosh, she punched a hole in the ship. And it's too late for him because she's already heading his way. And she's like, yeah, I'm going to punch a hole in you too. And she just decks him. She just hits him like 5 times. She does this meteor shower and takes out a giant. So... Doll is just as tough as she is beautiful. That's pretty cool. But that's not all that's going on. Luffy's with Dory and Broggy. He yelled, Sanji, it's okay. And Luffy turns around, ready to continue his fight, only to see the pig's gone. Where'd the giant pig go? And Dory and Broggy are like, oh, it's great. He's not chasing us anymore. And Luffy, of all people, brings out the sensible statement of, yeah, but if he's not chasing us, What is he chasing? And that is when we cut to the Iron Giant marching forth, trying to get to Joy Boy as best it can, as 4 of the 5 elders begin to surround it. They're all coming towards it with their attacks, and one of them goes, "Is that what I think it is?" And Mars just goes, "Yes, that is the giant that attacked Marie-Joie 200 years ago." He says that is the giant that attacked Marie-Joie 200 years ago. There is no doubt about it. This can mean one of 2 things. One, the 5 elders are just as immortal as Eam, or the 5 elders are aspects of Eam. So I guess there's actually a third option. There's historical documents stating this giant attacked 200 years ago. I don't know where I stand on the Gorosei immortal theory. Eam, totally believe he's immortal. Op, fruit and all. Somebody has to be immortal for us to know the fruit can do that. So, for Eam to be immortal makes sense. What doesn't make sense to me is that Eam, over the course of all these centuries, found the op fruit repeatedly, found a doctor repeatedly, smart enough to pull off the procedure, mind you, and then repeatedly had his 5 greatest cronies immortalized. The only thing that really kind of keeps me anchored to that possibility is the discrepancy in age between the elders' appearance. Because if you think about it, if Peter was the first one to get immortality from the op fruit, then it would make sense that he's the youngest looking. Whereas Warcurie and Mars, being the oldest looking, could have been the last ones to get it. Maybe Eam pulled it off within a span of 100 years, and St. Peter was, turned immortal at the age of 40, and Warcurie was turned immortal at the age of 90. Who knows? However you want to go about it, though, whether you believe that they are descendants of the 5 elders that served under Eam, or if they themselves are the original elders that served under Eam, they are very flustered to see this Iron Giant, and they do not hold back with their attacks. Warcurie rams into it with everything he has, and I don't think he took out the giant. I think it was just the shockwave of Conqueror's Haki that took out the snail. Because unfortunately for all of us, Vegapunk only gets out a couple sentences. To those of you with the letter D as your middle initial, which kind of hits home for me because, fun fact, that is also my middle initial. My parents did not know One Piece was going to come into existence. It just really worked out nicely for me. But to those of you with the middle initial D, and we cut to Dragon and Blackbeard and Beppo saying, "Captain, you might want to hear this." And, I would assume... Oh, who else did we see? Sabo thinking about Ace and Luffy, and probably Kobe thinking about Garp. To those of you with the initial D, among you, there is absolutely no doubt that one of you will be the king of the pirates. There is a traitor. There is a liar. There is a hero. There is a monster. There is absolute power. There is almighty powers to be held. Whatever that begins. We don't get to hear the ending because the transmission gets cut out. Because the number one thing, my beloved Ichiro Oda, my all-time favorite mangaka, the greatest storyteller this side of the continents, the man really loves to cut off sentences. He loves silhouettes and cutting off sentences. We should listen to this mysterious group as we see, their silhouettes in the background. Oh, I know how to get there. You just got... Oda loves to cut off sentences, and it's as infuriating as it is awesome. So with the signal ended, with it the chapter comes to a close as well. And who knows what we're going to hear next. Right now, I think we're just going to reach a stalemate. The 5 elders... I think the Iron Giant is still functional, so I think the Giant is actually going to fight the 4 elders by itself. Maybe, Venus gets called away because, Venus, we need your help. Venus runs towards them, and that allows the Straw Hat crew to grab Luffy and get with Dory and Broggy and get out of there. Whatever the reasons, however it happens, this concludes our Vegapunk broadcast. This concludes our glorious lore dump. I don't think this concludes our trot around the world. We still haven't seen the responses of a few important characters, mainly Dragon, outside of going, because this is kind of important information. Also, I'm kind of interested to see why it was so important for Vegapunk to have video feed rather than just radio broadcast. Aside from, I think he showed a chart at one point. I'd have to read the chapters again. I'll probably reread Egghead just to be safe. But there really wasn't a reason that video was so mandatory, unless he really wanted to show off the coffee. I think this might... Well, the feed got cut off, so this wasn't to reveal the elders or anything. This is a tough call. This is a tough theory to make. But, as always, One Piece is, if not, a mystery wrapped in a mystery. Unfortunately, today, none of those mysteries had any answers. We just gained a few new ones. That's not true. We did get one question answered. Did Gin make it to the Grand Line? The answer to that, yes. Unless we're all completely confused and Oda just tells us, oh no, that's Don Krieg's cousin, Don Joe, Cotton Eye Joe, and his crew. And that's not Pearl, that's Steve, Pearl's cousin. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this, because I think next chapter is going to kind of start cooling us down. Luffy and crew get away, the elders calm down or have to run on damage control, find Big News Morgans, find our own video transponder snail, get York to make a new recording and say, hey, attention world, your 5 favorite elders here. Don't listen to Vegapunk, he lied to you. You can trust the government. Whatever happens in the next chapter, I'll be there, and I hope you'll be there too. I think I already said comments, but let me know in the comments below what you think is going to happen next, and I will see you in the next video. This is the Hero of Julios, confused, and Xing out.